Welcome back to the Growl with Hank, Episode 4. I am your host, Hank Brewski, and we have a loaded show for you today. If you are new here, welcome. We keep it real, we keep it simple, and we do not sugarcoat anything. If you have been with us since Episode 1, you already know the deal. Coffee, truth, no fluff. This week is one for the history books, and I mean that literally. The U.S. military just pulled off one of the most daring rescue missions in modern history, deep inside enemy territory in Iran. The Supreme Court heard arguments on whether being born in America still makes you American. The DHS shutdown just became the longest agency funding lapse ever. AI companies are pouring over $100 million into the midterm elections, and Washington still cannot agree on how to pay the people who keep us safe. That is a lot of ground to cover. But that is what the Bears Brew is for. Let us get to work. Time for the Bears Brew. 4 stories this week. Buckle up. Let us go. I want to start with this one because it happened just hours ago, and it is the kind of story that makes you proud to be American. An F-15E Strike Eagle was shot down over southwestern Iran on Friday. 2 crew members ejected. The pilot was rescued quickly, but the second crew member, a colonel and weapons systems officer, was stranded deep in the Iranian mountains, behind enemy lines, injured, being hunted. Iran put a $60,000 bounty on his head. State television told locals to find the American and hand him over. Search parties formed. The IRGC was closing in. And what did America do? We sent in the best we have. Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, hundreds of special operations troops, dozens of aircraft. The CIA pinpointed his location using what officials called, quote, exquisite capabilities. They found him hiding in a crevice on a 7,000-foot ridge with a sprained ankle, invisible to everyone except our intelligence. The rescue took 7 hours, in broad daylight, under fire. 2 Black Hawk helicopters were hit by Iranian fire. An A-10 Warthog providing cover was struck, and the pilot had to eject over the Persian Gulf. He was recovered safely. 2 MC-130 transport planes malfunctioned after the extraction and had to be destroyed on the ground so Iran could not get them. And you know what? They got him. President Trump posted on Truth Social just after midnight, quote, "We got him." He called it one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history, and he was not exaggerating. Here is what I want you to understand. This is the first time a U.S. fighter jet has been shot down in combat in over 20 years. This war with Iran, which started on February 28th, has now killed 13 American service members, over 300 wounded. This is real. This is happening. And while we are arguing about politics at home, young Americans are putting their lives on the line overseas. So whatever side of the political aisle you sit on, take a moment today and respect what those operators just did. They flew into hostile territory, climbed a mountain under fire, and brought an American home. That is what this country is capable of when we stop arguing and start acting. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu congratulated Trump and said Israel provided intelligence support and even postponed some planned strikes to avoid interfering with the rescue. That is how allies are supposed to work. Now Trump is threatening Iran again. He told the Wall Street Journal that if Iran does not reopen the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday, the U.S. will destroy every power plant and every bridge in the country. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, something is apparently happening. We will be watching. More on the bigger picture in a moment. But first, let us talk about what is happening at home. Story number 2. And this one could redefine what it means to be American. Last Wednesday, April 1st, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in Trump versus Barbara. This is the case that challenges whether babies born on American soil automatically become U.S. citizens. That right has been protected by the 14th Amendment since 1868. That is 158 years. President Trump showed up in person. First sitting president to ever attend oral arguments at the Supreme Court. He sat in the front row. Watched for about an hour while his Solicitor General, John Sauer, made the case. Then Trump walked out before the other side even finished talking. He posted on Truth Social, quote, "We are the only country in the world stupid enough to allow birthright citizenship." Now, here is the thing. At least 30 other countries have the same policy, so that is not accurate. But I understand the frustration behind it. When people cross the border illegally, and their kids automatically become citizens, I get why that feels like a loophole. But here is where the bear gets honest with you. The government had a rough day in court. Multiple conservative justices pushed back hard on Sauer's arguments, and the toughest questions came from Justice Amy Coney Barrett, a Trump appointee. Barrett asked this: if birthright citizenship does not apply to children of people who came here illegally, what about enslaved people? Many of them were brought here illegally, against their will. The entire purpose of the 14th Amendment was to guarantee citizenship to their children. So, if you use the government's logic, you accidentally undo the very thing the amendment was written to protect. That is not a liberal argument, folks. That is a constitutional argument from a conservative justice. Here is my take. You can be for strong borders and believe the Constitution means what it says. Those two things are not enemies. They are neighbors. If people keep cutting the line at the grocery store, you do not change what a customer means. You hire a better security guard. The answer to illegal immigration is fixing the system, not rewriting who counts as American. The court will not rule until later this year, but based on what we heard, this executive order is probably toast. And that might actually be the best outcome for everyone, because it forces Congress to do its job, instead of one person trying to rewrite the rules with a pen. Story number 3, and this one should make you mad regardless of your politics. The Department of Homeland Security has now been shut down for almost 50 days. This is the longest agency shutdown in American history. Let that sink in. How did we get here? Back in January, federal agents killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis during an immigration operation. Democrats said we are not funding ICE and Border Patrol until there are reforms to enforcement practices. Republicans said no reforms, just fund it, and nobody budged. For 50 days. Meanwhile, more than 35,000 DHS employees went without paychecks. Coast Guard civilians, FEMA workers, cybersecurity professionals, TSA agents. You know, the people who screen your bags at the airport. They stopped showing up because they could not pay their rent. The result? Massive lines at airports, flights delayed, travelers stuck. This week there is finally some movement. Senate Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson announced a 2-track plan. Step 1. Fund everything at DHS except ICE and Border Patrol. Step 2. Fund ICE and Border Patrol separately through reconciliation, which only needs a simple majority. No Democrats needed. Trump endorsed it and wants it done by June 1st. He also signed an executive order to start paying DHS employees again. Good. Those workers deserved paychecks 6 weeks ago. But here is what bugs me. This is like 2 chefs in a restaurant fighting over the menu while the customers sit there starving. Nobody is getting fed, nobody is getting served, and both sides are yelling about who makes the better steak. Meanwhile, the waitstaff has not been paid. That is Washington in 2026. Story number 4. And this one is personal to me, because this entire show is built with AI tools. So I have been paying close attention. The AI industry is going all in on the 2026 midterms. An AI-related political group called Innovation Council Action, tied to 2 of Trump's advisors, announced it will spend at least $100 million. That is just one group. Across the board, AI companies are pouring money into both parties. Why? Because regulation is coming, and whoever writes the rules wins. The question is whether the rules will be written by Washington or by the states. And right now, the states are winning. California just passed laws requiring AI companies to disclose their training data and watermark AI-generated content. Colorado passed an AI Act targeting algorithmic discrimination. Texas has its own AI governance law. Over a dozen states have AI bills on the books, and more are coming. Meanwhile, the White House introduced a national AI policy framework that takes a light-touch approach. Less regulation, more innovation. Governor Newsom in California fired back with his own executive order, basically saying California will make its own decisions about AI, thank you very much. He even pushed back after the Department of Defense flagged Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, as a supply chain risk. Newsom said California will review those designations independently. Here is the thing most people do not understand about AI regulation. This is not about robots taking over. Not yet, anyway. This is about who controls the rules for a technology that is already in your phone, your car, your doctor's office, your kid's school, and your job application. A recent poll found that over half of US adults believe AI is likely to cause harm, and yet 78% of organizations are already using it. So we have a technology that most people are worried about, that most companies are already using, and that nobody has agreed on how to regulate. Sound familiar? It should. That is exactly what happened with social media 15 years ago. And we all know how that turned out. My take? We need smart rules, not heavy-handed rules that kill innovation, not zero rules that let companies do whatever they want. Smart rules, transparency, accountability, and protection for the regular person who did not ask for AI to make decisions about their life. But that requires Congress to actually understand the technology they are regulating. And based on the last congressional hearing about social media, I am not holding my breath. Pause and effect time. Last week I talked about what $7 gas would look like. This week, I want to zoom out and show you the full cost of the Iran war on your daily life. Because it is not just gas anymore, it is everything. Let us start with the numbers. The war started February 28th. Since then, 13 American service members have been killed, over 300 wounded. We just saw our first fighter jet shot down in combat in over 20 years. We have deployed thousands of additional troops to the region. And the Strait of Hormuz, which carries 20% of the world's oil, has been effectively shut down. That shutdown is why oil went from $73 a barrel to $116 in about 5 weeks. Gas at the pump just crossed $4 nationally, and analysts say $7 is possible by summer if the strait stays closed. But here is what nobody is connecting for you. The Strait of Hormuz is not just an oil highway, it is the world's most important shipping lane. When it closes, insurance premiums on every cargo ship in the region go through the roof. That cost gets passed to importers. Importers pass it to retailers. Retailers pass it to you. So even products that have nothing to do with oil get more expensive. Then there is the defense spending. We are flying hundreds of sorties. We are launching cruise missiles. We are deploying carrier groups. Every Tomahawk missile costs about $2 million. Every hour an F-15 is in the air costs about $30,000. This rescue mission alone involved dozens of aircraft flying for 7 hours over hostile territory. Do the math. And here is the part that worries me most. This war has no clear end date. There is no peace deal on the table. Iran is threatening to keep the strait closed. Trump is threatening to destroy their infrastructure by Tuesday. And we are sitting here in the middle, paying higher prices for gas, food, and everything else while our soldiers are getting shot at. I said it last week, and I will say it again. We need energy independence. The fact that a war on the other side of the world can double our gas prices in 30 days is a failure of energy policy. Not just this administration. Every administration for the last 30 years. We should not be this vulnerable. Period. Plan accordingly, folks. Check your budget. Cut unnecessary driving. And if you have not looked into your home energy costs, now is the time. This is not getting better anytime soon. Time for the growl. And this week I am going to connect everything we just talked about, because it is all related, and nobody is saying it. We have soldiers fighting in Iran. We have a colonel who just spent 24 hours hiding in a mountain crevice while Iran hunted him. We have a government that cannot agree on how to fund the department that keeps the homeland safe. We have a Supreme Court debating whether being born here even makes you American. And we have tech companies spending $100 million to make sure nobody regulates the technology that is reshaping every part of our lives. You know what all of those things have in common? None of them are about you. None of them are about the guy filling his tank at $4 a gallon trying to get to work. None of them are about the mom checking her grocery receipt, wondering why eggs cost $6. None of them are about the small business owner who just lost a customer because he had to raise prices again. Washington is fighting about everything, except the stuff that affects your kitchen table. That is my growl. The pilot rescue? Incredible. I am proud of every single operator who went in there. But why are we in a war that Congress never voted on? Birthright citizenship? Important constitutional question. But 35,000 DHS workers cannot feed their families while we debate it. AI regulation? Absolutely necessary. But the same Congress that cannot fund a government agency is supposed to regulate the most powerful technology in human history? Here is what I want. I want a government that can walk and chew gum at the same time. Secure the border, support the troops, pay the workers, regulate the technology, and do it without turning every single issue into a cage match. I am a bear. I keep it simple. Feed your family, protect your den, and do not let anybody tell you that the chaos in Washington is normal. It is not, and we deserve better. That is my growl. That is episode 4 of the Growl with Hank. We covered a lot today. Quick recap. The U.S. military pulled off a daring rescue of an American colonel deep in the mountains of Iran after his F-15 was shot down. It was the first U.S. fighter jet shot down in combat in 20 years. The Supreme Court heard arguments on birthright citizenship, and multiple conservative justices seemed skeptical of Trump's executive order. The DHS shutdown hit 50 days, the longest agency shutdown in history, but a 2-track funding plan is moving forward. And AI companies are pouring over $100 million into the midterms to shape the rules before they get written. If this episode hit home, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear the news explained without the spin. Subscribe so you never miss a Tuesday. I am Hank Brewski. This is The Growl. Stay sharp, stay free, and I will see you next Tuesday.